What's up everybody, in today's video I'm going to explain how we made So Sexy. This song was released 1 week ago on Revelaed recordings and it's going so great, so thank you all so much for the support. And here's a small preview in case you haven't heard it yet.
You're so sexy.
So Steve and I were working on a call and Steve found this cool vocal that we could use for a new song, and I just used it. It worked really good, and that's why it's called So Sexy, because the vocal was just working so good and we worked the song around that vocal. So without further to say, let's get right into the project. Alright, so right now we're in the project and this is the vocal, which is of course the main element of the song. This is how it sounds.
I can't get you. You're so sexy.
And there is a really cool vocal, I must say. It is from Splice, as I said before, and it has an autotune, a little alter boy, an OTT, 5-filter Saturn, an SSL channel where I am boosting the high end. Then I'm also using an EQ just to down some frequencies that I don't like and boost the high end. Then I'm using the Pro DS from 5-filter in order to take out some of those resonances from the F and S sound from the vocal. Also I'm using a limiter to make it sound even, and a dimension expander to give some extra stereo to it. Also I used a delay in order to make it more wide, as well as a reverb, and finally an auto filter just to filter it in some parts of the song, and an EQ again just to cut out all of those frequencies I don't need. So this is how it sounds without the autotune and the little alter boy.
I can't get you. You're so sexy.
Like, the vocal is kind of there, right? But it is not that sexy still, so we needed to make it sound a lot deeper. So with the autotune it sounds a little bit more robotic, but that's pretty much it. But with the little alter boy we did the most change on the vocal. We just grabbed it and down the format -2, we turn it on, and this is how it sounds now.
You're so sexy. You're so sexy. You're so
Definitely it sounds more sexy now. Then on the build-up, the only change we do on the vocal is just 1 octave down. Then another very important element is the horns, and the horns sound like this. So this is the reverse, which is really much basic reverse from the main sample, but the main sample has special effects in order to make it sound more special. For example, I have the flanger with the acoustic cascade preset. Without it, it sounds like this. It sounds kind of too much straightforward maybe, but with the flanger it sounds a lot better. Just take a listen. It definitely gives some weird type of format to the whole sound now, and it sounds a lot better now. And we also use the Focus 1 in order to make it go gated, so it sounds like da 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 da, and it doesn't go like straight, so in that way we give more variation to the whole sound. And this is how it sounds with the Focus 1 on. Definitely helps a lot to give some variation to this part of the breakdown. Then I have a bunch of effects just to make sure that the whole breakdown is fuller, and this is how it sounds. But it's really basic stuff. Then something that is very curious in this first part of the breakdown is this clock that is almost like a sub bass, and it sounds like this. So basically this one gives some more extra bounce to this part of the breakdown, so it doesn't sound that static, and it gives some energy. And then on the second half of the first breakdown I use a couple drums just to make it a little bit more interesting and energetic, and this is how it sounds. Very simple stuff. Now if we go to the drop, these are the leads. So if I'm being honest, for leads I have a very simple type of processing, and this is how it goes. So for the main plug I have just an OTT, EQ, 5-filter Saturn, another EQ, a Valhalla room just to give more space on the mix. So I have a Valhalla room just to make sure that it goes a little bit more wider on the mix, as well as a dimension expander and a reverb, which basically is to give more stereo to my whole plug. This is how the OTT looks like. This is the saturation, it's very basic, always on warm tape. The EQ is very simple, there's nothing much going on here. So this is the Valhalla room I'm using, and as you can see it has the mix and the depth on 0, but that's because I automated. And this is how it looks. Both of them look pretty much the same, and this is how it sounds. So it kinda goes like a big room and then it closes, and that's a very cool effect. This is the dimension expander I'm using, and this is the Ars Acoustic reverb I am using. So for the second and third plug I'm basically using the same processing, to be honest, and it sounds like this. So those are like layers that have more body and can work better with the main plug. And for the leads I have even simpler processing, to be honest. Like just look at this chain. It's just an OTT here, an EQ, a Fab Filter Saturn here, a Valhalla room that is not even automated at all. Then for the others it's pretty much the same, nothing much changes, to be honest. This is how the main lead sounds. And these are the layers, which are very weird type of sounds. The plugs and the leads go to this group, and on this group I have the Fab Filter Saturn just giving some extra harmonics, an EQ, an auto filter for effects later on, an endless smile also for effects, a couple kickstarts, one to give some movement and the other one to give some space to the kick, and finally just an EQ cutting down the frequencies I don't want. Then on the drop I have these small details, like for example these vocals, basses, and this is how it sounds. And I think the most important one is this vocal over here, which definitely adds up to the vibe and the beat of this drop. And it has an OTT, an EQ, a dimension expander with these settings over here, a Valhalla room, a glue compressor, a kickstart, and of course one EQ removing the frequencies I don't want. Then this vocal stuff, which is also very important, I think. It has an auto-tune, a Fab filter, an EQ, an OTT over here, a dimension expander, one Valhalla room, an endless smile, a glue compressor, a kickstart, and finally one EQ over here, cutting down the frequencies I don't want. Then I have this little laser over here, which has a Fab Filter Saturn, an EQ, a glue compressor, a Valhalla room, and finally one kickstart over here. Then I have this hold up vocal, which has an auto-tune, an EQ, an OTT over here, a dimension expander, then I have a Valhalla room over here, and finally a glue compressor. And this is how the low end sounds like. This is a kick, the top kick, the sub bass, the bass, and here I have like a tom that fills the empty spaces. These are the drums of the drop and they are very simple, they sound like this. So all of my drums were sent to one group, and on this group I have a glue compressor, a kickstart just to give some space to the kick, and finally a low cut just taking down the frequencies I don't need. So for the middle part of the drop I have this very simple stuff like this impact and this fill over here. And for the very start of the second part of the drop I have this little fill over here, which is basically to create some new variation and also to keep it fresh. So the leads have a lot of reverb and also an auto filter just to make it go back again. And this is how it sounds. And on the drums I have this little breakbeat loop just to make it sound a little bit more special. And also to give more drive and energy to this part of the drop. So for the second part of the second breakdown I have these drums over here. And they are all processed in the same way the drums of the drop were processed, just that this one has a Saturn just giving some extra harmonics on the mids and the high end. Then I'm using this kick, and this kick was processed in the same way the kick from the drop was processed. Just an R bass boosting the root note of the kick, an EQ, and an SSL compressor with these settings over here. I also have this bass that makes the difference between the first and the second breakdown, and it sounds like this, which is a serum bass. And I think that something interesting here is that I also use the Focus One just like in the horns, so that this one will be gated as well. And this is how it sounds with the Focus One on. Nothing much going on here, and the compressor is being used for the sidechains, so the bass will go down once the kick plays, and this is how it sounds together. So for the build-up I have these snares over here, and also a punchy kick, just to give some body to the snares. I have this synth which is quite interesting because it also has a flanger, and this is how it sounds. It kinda gives the whole energy to this build-up. And I also have this pan riser over here. Then I have this wrist bass that is going up. And then a couple more risers. Then some impacts. And of course the leads were filtered on this build-up. Alright, so that was all for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If so, don't forget to like it, comment and subscribe. Also, please let me know in the comments what you would like to see on the next video, and don't forget to follow me on Instagram. See you guys next time.